All right, welcome back to My Mom's Basement. It is Robbie Fox, and I am here with David Dastmalchian, who I'm a huge fan of. Big get for the basement, basically. I'm excited to have you here. How are you?
I'm fantastic. What a great introduction. Thanks, man.
Yeah,
Yeah.
well, it could have been better. I could have listed down all of your whole resume, which is a lot.
No, but that you think I'm a get.
Oh, you're a
That's a
big get.
that's a great
For the
compliment. I want a
basement? Yeah.
T-shirt that says "get."
You're a
I've
get.
been gotten. It's great to be here in the basement.
And
Many
you're in
an
New York
hour.
for South by Southwest?
No,
Is
no,
that right?
I'm in New York for the premiere of The Boston Strangler.
Okay.
I just left South by Southwest in Austin, Texas for the premiere of a different film called Late Night with the Devil. And
You just got the most stacked 2023 out there.
it's just like I'm a little bit on. I have this mantra lately where I'm saying, not on a roller coaster. I can take a step off whenever I need to. I can breathe as I need to, because sometimes it does feel a little too chaotic. I'm also a dad of two kids who have all the needs that kids have. I've got a incredible wife, but I have to nurture and tend to that relationship, and then I've got a production company where I'm putting together right now 2 feature films, 3 publishing deals, and like a TV series. So then doing the wonderful tour of promoting projects that I have worked on and I love, like Boston Strangler or Late Night with the Devil, or we just wrapped up a bunch of work on Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania, getting ready for some more films. It can get a little crazy,
Yeah.
to say the least. And the great thing about the way that my life is worked out is that I do have this incredible life partner in crime, my wife Eve, and a really small, tight circle of friends and family around me. So at the end of the day, when you've been doing some crazy, chaotic shit, you can just go home and sit on the couch and listen to your kids complain about you for being boring or whatever.
Grounds you, right?
It's
Keeps you
very
humble.
grounding. It's great. It's great. Yeah.
And your 2023, like I said, is so stacked with projects that are coming out. Are you like acting in a bunch of stuff this year as well? Are you like being in stuff, or is this a year where you're like, I'm just promoting stuff and putting things out?
Interesting question. For 2023, I've definitely recultivated back towards my projects and my stories that I want to tell that come from me.
Yeah.
I'm lucky that a lot of the jobs that I've gotten to be a part of, where other people have brought me onto their projects, are stories that I love telling and want to tell. But launching my company, Good Fiend Films, which is a production company that specializes and focuses on wrestling with questions and big ideas that I care about through the lens of genre. So mostly science fiction, horror, superhero stories. That's where I'm putting kind of all of my focused energy at the moment. That involves the writing and creation and publication of one comic book that's currently in publication, but then 2 more that are coming, which I'll be announcing soon. And then I've got a TV show that I sold recently, which I'm writing and developing, and then
Oh, congrats.
thank you, 2 feature films. So I'm putting a lot of that energy in there. I will be acting in almost all of those projects, but as far as other people's work, like people who have been kind of coming to me recently with like, would you like to do this, would you like to do that, it hasn't been the right alignment yet. I'm open to it. I know, of course it'll be fantastic when the right thing presents itself, but I'd say energetically kind of focusing on creating my own projects right now.
Was that always the end goal for you, creating your own projects, or did it come from being in the film industry and like falling in love with it?
I don't think it's not the end goal. The end goal for me is this desire to tell stories that I would love to hear, but also tell the stories that I feel like I need to tell. And so ultimately, as I started my career, I was a Chicago theater actor. I started making a little bit of money doing television commercials. I got my first big break, was able to be a part of Chris Nolan's The Dark Knight, one of the greatest films ever made. I have this
my
really
favorite.
cool, juicy little role that really propelled me, if not financially, at least it was a door opener. And I used that opportunity because my dream and my goal was ultimately to always work in film and television, but mostly in movies. I really was like, that was always a dream of mine. Came to New York in 2009 because I was doing commercials, and I had been guided by some people I was working with at the time, agents, that they thought this would be the right place for me to start. And although it didn't work out that way because I couldn't even get an audition to save my life when I was in New York. I did meet the love of my life. I met Eve, fell in love, and because I wasn't getting any auditions for anything, I was like, I was in a Chris Nolan movie. Like, come on, guys, like there should be something. I started to realize that for me, the journey was going to be creating opportunities by making my own shit.
Yeah.
And I started writing and producing short films, web series, developing scripts for plays, because I'm also, from the theater and I love theater. I was just writing, creating, trying to develop relationships with people who I felt could elevate my work as a storyteller, and just spending as much time as I could making my own stuff. I just felt like that was the path, and it was so rewarding for me, and it felt so good. And although I don't have the desire or the fire in my belly to direct, I do have an aching desire in my heart to write, and I love producing. I love the magic of starting to sort out and understand the chemistry of a story and a project and what it could look and feel like, and putting together all the magic of like assembling a team around it. So as the years progressed and I started to develop my voice as a writer, and I started to really figure out what it was that I wanted out of writing and storytelling, and I had some success, small success, but I had success, and not a success in the financial sense of success, but success in the sense of having a dream, executing it, and being very proud of what had been created. I wrote and produced and acted in a film called Animals, which came out about 10 years ago now, and then another film that followed that called All Creatures Here Below, and since then have been just loving that part of my journey. And so starting Good Fiend Films was important to me, because a lot of these seeds that I'd been planting, and these little trees, these little things that I'd been cultivating, and ideas and stories, worlds that I wanted to build, were starting to really take root and grow. And I was been really enlivened by that. It's exciting, and it's challenging, it's scary, it's hard, because there's nobody paying me to do that stuff. That's me making my own stuff and creating. But I have, again, goes back, I have this wonderful, supportive, loving support system around me. I've been able to build such incredible relationships with people who are so much better at, or know so much more than I do about this stuff. And I learn from them. I get to go spend 6 months on set with someone like James Gunn, who also happens to be a dear friend of mine. And I watch, and I take note, and I learn, and I observe, and I know that I could be better and better and better at this stuff. So that's where we're at right now, and I'm having a good time.
That's really cool. Like, the story of being able to find your own lane and make your own lane when there wasn't one for you is super inspiring. I hope people take that and realize how, happy you are now, and realize that that is a path that would be good for anyone to follow in any industry.
It's important, no matter what. Whatever it is that you're doing, whatever it is that you're sitting there going, fuck, I can't get the break that I'm hoping for. I haven't gotten the interview for the thing. I haven't gotten the chance to show my stuff the way that I want to show my stuff. Every day I was waking up. I moved to Los Angeles in 2010. I had no agent. I had no manager. I had no representation. I met with, really, looking back on it now, kind of like questionable. There's one manager I met with. She was renting space in like a storage unit, and she's standing at a table with her cigarettes. Like, they all passed on me, man. I'd been in The Dark Knight. Like, I had a cool role in a Christopher Nolan film. Nobody saw it when they met me.
That's
they
crazy.
Were just like, thanks. And like some smaller, like kind of, agencies that you go like, what? But I couldn't allow that to diminish what it was that I knew I needed to be doing. And I hope if you're watching this and you're thinking and you're feeling that way about yourself right now, when you're going, really? Like, that job said no to me? That job said no to me? Thank your lucky stars that job said no to you, that opportunity said no to you. Because if you had taken it, God knows where that path would have gone. If I had gone with that woman who really was renting an office space in a storage unit and had
rolled
no
up her door for you.
She really did. I'm not exaggerating.
Yeah.
It was like that. It was so bizarre, and I was nervous. I was pitching myself like, can I please? No, I would get up every morning. I'd get my cup of coffee. and I would go through all the breakdowns. I would sign up for these services. I was basically collecting unemployment and just scraping together whatever jobs I could in between. And I was looking at and submitting myself for music videos, short films, student films, and I would spend hours and hours cross-referencing and doing all the detail work of, well, this person is the casting director for this USC short film project. And then I would Google that person. I go, oh, she actually has been an assistant at this office, so she actually probably knows people. This is a good opportunity for me to go in. And usually the compensation that you were being offered, if you booked these, by the way, which I rarely did, even those things, people are like, oh, you're a successful actor. You work with all these great directors. You've done all this cool stuff. And I'm like, thank you. There was 4,000 crappy things that I auditioned for that said nah to me, and I just kept being crazy enough to keep showing up. But some of those relationships I built early on, submitting myself and pitching myself to these things, led to, I've got a great story I'll tell you later, but led to that. So it's like, keep saying yes to yourself, keep being grateful and gracious with the no's that you get. If you can't handle the no's, if it hurts your soul too much, if you're too broken by the rejection, then please do the work to try and understand what it is that you're seeking from this journey that you're on, whether it's as an architect or, as a pediatrician or as a vet or as an actor, or as a musician or as a blogger, as a whatever. Try and understand what is it that crushes your soul so much in the rejection. It's very natural to have your feelings hurt and being told no. That's something we all have to learn to live with. But if it's insurmountable, then maybe there's some questions you want to ask yourself and think about what it is. How much value are you putting on other people's acceptance of you, other people's opinions of you? And can you find a place where your acceptance of how lovable you are as a person and how much value you have as a person really kind of supersedes that, so that it doesn't break your soul to wake up the next morning having just been dumped by whatever the life circumstances and go, okay, going back.
Yeah. I've heard Kevin Smith talk a lot about that, actually, like with a similar mindset and on a similar wavelength there. And I know you've worked with him in the past. Have you ever spoken about that with him?
Absolutely. I was just sitting in Kevin's office at his house probably 2 weeks ago. He's a dear friend of mine. I love him. We've talked a lot about that, the journey, the mental health journey of, being in this really, every industry, every business has its share of, what makes it hard. In ours, it's super tricky because you're constantly conflated with who you are as a person and who you are as an artist, or whatever word you want to use, and it can be quite easy to get caught up in believing or thinking that, that critique, that criticism of you as a person, as a storyteller, is some kind of, evaluation of you as a human being. And yeah, Kevin and I, we talk about that a ton, and how important it is to keep surrounding yourself with the people who truly love you just for who you are, that you're not a human doing, you're a human being.
Yeah.
And if you don't hear that, listen again. You are a human being. You are not a human doing. What you do is important, of course. What we do with our lives, our work, it is a way that we navigate this human experience, and it helps us come up with answers and figure out, the answers to questions we're trying to wrestle with, and figure out what we're doing with this life. But it is not your value as a person. Just being me, doing absolutely nothing, bringing nothing to the table other than just myself, is enough. And Kevin and I, we've talked about that a lot, because God knows we've been, told that's a piece of crap that you just made, or you're a part of this thing that's terrible, or people are like, and you got to go, okay, all right, man.
Yeah.
Moving on.
Put your head down, keep moving.
That's right. Keep making, keep creating.
Yeah. Yeah. Now, I know The Dark Knight was your big breakout role where a lot of people first saw you, but did you know that it's actually not the first credit you have on IMDb?
I bet the first credit I have on IMDb is called Everybody's at Rick's, an episode of the TV show called, hold on, don't tell me, Early Edition.
You're
correct.
Is that right? You're correct about that.
So Early Edition was a TV series that was filming in Chicago, It starred the very talented Kyle Chandler,
Okay.
amazing actor, who's gone on to have an incredible career, right?
Yes.
That guy's amazing. So it was about a guy who would get the newspaper the day before, a day early. It was kind of like a time travel-y, sci-fi conceit. And he would get the newspaper the day before and then try and help, prevent whatever tragedy was in the paper.
Actually, not a bad concept.
Cool idea.
Yeah.
Cool idea. So I was in theater school in Chicago. We were not supposed to audition for anything professionally outside of school, but I did it anyway. And I got like a one-line role where I think I carried a cocktail across a bar, and you don't even see me on camera.
Oh, really?
But I was like, that was my first time ever, like, and it was so quick, and it was such a
It did say on IMDb uncredited.
uncredited.
Yeah.
There you go. Yeah. So
I was surprised it was even on there if it was uncredited. I guess you must have told the story in an interview before. Someone probably like went
That's
and updated it
interesting.
for you.
maybe,
Or maybe the person who made it is just trying to be like, we had him first.
maybe.
Taking some pride in you
Yeah,
now.
sure. Grateful for them hiring me. I think, you made like $600 or something and got to be on a episode of a TV show. That was sadly at a very dark time in my life as well. I was at that point so deep in the throes of my addiction. I was a heroin addict, and I was coming out of a really successful journey through theater training in Chicago, and one of the hardest, most intensive acting kind of training grounds you can imagine. And I was doing well. Like, people were like really responding to my work, and I was definitely like on a path of probably going to do some interesting work as an actor. But my addiction was so crippling, and it was so hard. Soon after that episode was kind of when I walked away from everything. I left acting for about 5 years. The first, oh God, maybe longer than that.
I was going to say, this was 2000, it said on your IMDb.
Yeah,
and then
yeah.
Dark Knight's not till 2008.
2008. So I was homeless for the most part from late 2000 through 2002.
Wow.
You burn the candle at both ends. Addiction, a lot of people who've suffered with addiction understand this. Everything feels manageable. Everything feels like it's possible. You're going to live the rest of your life figuring out how you can drink all day or shoot up all day or smoke all day or do whatever it is that you have to do to get through because you're an addict. And the bottom just dropped out one day, and all of a sudden there was no rent, there was nothing except for getting my next fix. And then I lived in a car, and it was pretty dark times for quite a while. When I finally did get into recovery and started to make the journey of wellness and learning how to live my life without drugs and alcohol, but also learning how to start the process of finding some mental wellness, which was the other big part of it. It wasn't just getting clean and sober for me. It was also like, okay, we got to deal with this fucking depression. We've got to deal with this anxiety. We've got to deal with, trauma, blah, blah, blah. It took a long time.
Yeah.
And I didn't know if I'd ever act again. I was a telemarketer. I was working in a movie theater. I was grateful because I was able to, wake up every day without needing a hit. I was just living life in Uptown in Chicago and getting a Totino's pizza at night and renting movies from my Blockbuster and living and grateful. And then all of a sudden, one day, a friend of mine was like, I'm directing a play, you should be in it. I said, I don't think that's a good idea. And she encouraged me to another friend of mine. He was making a play, and he said, I think you really should do this. And I thought, I don't know if this is a good idea. And he was like, don't worry, if it doesn't go well, there's no stress, no foul. And it ended up being the best experience. I found out that not only did I not need drugs to be the actor that I thought, I needed them for before, I was much better. And I had a lot of stories left to tell. So then, there's a big chunk of my life that I missed acting, but I'm grateful for that chunk.
Yeah.
Because A, I learned how to live without, drugs and alcohol. B, I learned a lot about myself, which informs the work as an actor. And C, interesting, anyone out there who feels like they're behind the eight ball, I was getting back into acting professionally, and then when I decided, oh shit, this is it. Like, I'm really doing this now. Hell or high water. I'm going to Hollywood. I'm going to work in movies. I'm going to be an actor. I'm going to write. I'm going to make stories. I'm going to make this shit happen. Whether all I ever do is shoot short films on my cell phone, I am going to make stuff and tell stories. This is what I'm going to do. I had lost these years, and it lit this crazy fire under my ass that was just like, it was a good thing.
Yeah.
Because I every day would wake up and be like, I lost years, man. I got to be, I got to be doing my thing. I got to be figuring out how to make this happen because I'm so behind everybody else. And it's funny, I've never stopped feeling that way. Even to this day, I'm always like, I'm behind everybody else. So it gave me this really good competitive edge, I feel like, where I would always do that extra hour of work or wake up that extra hour earlier to like make sure I was out there trying to get ahead of the pack.
Yeah, I'm grateful for those years as well because you've made a lot of entertaining stuff for all of us since.
Thanks, man. Thank you.
The Dark Knight is my favorite movie of all time.
It's
it has
so
been
good.
since
It's so
the day
good.
I saw it, July 18th, 2008. Still have my ticket stub somewhere in my house for The Dark Knight. That being your first major role like that, dealing with depression, anxiety, all of that, were you on set feeling crazy anxiety, or was that a good experience for you?
I was just at that point, I was like 5 years into being clean, but I was just scratching the surface of the work that I was doing with the therapist and psychiatrist to start really treating and working with the anxiety and depression that I was struggling with. And it was a first time being on a real film set. So coming to work the first time, not knowing what I was doing because they were so secretive, they really hadn't told me exactly what the character was or what I was going to be doing. I just had created this character based on knowing that I was going to be working for the Joker, thinking about all my lifetime. By the way, I've been collecting comics since I was in 3rd grade, so I'm a deep appreciation of the mythology of the Joker, and I feel like I have a lot of opinions about what that looks and feels like. So I came in as prepared as I could possibly be, not knowing what I was actually doing. And I'm this, theater actor from Chicago who's mostly performed in front of 25 to 100 people in folding chairs in storefront theaters. And I'm in hair and makeup trailers sitting next to Gary Oldman and Heath Ledger and Christian Bale and all these actors that I'm like, holy shit, what am I doing here? I don't belong. And I started to shake kind of uncontrollably. I was feeling so much anxiety that my body was genuinely like losing control of itself a bit. And I was sweating and I was shaking, and I'll always be so grateful for the director because he seemed to recognize that I was struggling, and he was very kind to me, and he is a very serious, focused, incredibly confident visionary who can orchestrate and lead a massive armada, which is what he was doing. I was watching this legendary director standing in the middle of LaSalle Avenue in Chicago, surrounded by a crew of hundreds with thousands of extras and cameras everywhere. And he just was so focused and serious and confident and knew what he needed. And it was very intimidating for me because I didn't want to disappoint him. And I felt like I didn't even know if I'd be able to perform. And in spite of how serious he is and how focused he is and how acutely aware he is of everything that's happening around him, he seemed to kind of hone in, I think, on the fact that I was struggling. And I feel like he just kind of, set me at ease. He gave me a kind of assurance. I don't know how to describe it. It's that gift that a great director has, that they know how to communicate with actors. And he made like some little jokes to me, made me set me at ease. And he was just it was disarming. It was really lovely. And he was kind of side coaching me as I was performing. The first scene we shot was me in the back of the ambulance where Harvey Dent comes in and wants me to tell him what I know, and like I said, I'd made this choice about this character. And when I finally saw what the scene was, I thought, oh, that's a good choice because I'm not tough or intimidating, and I'm not physically intimidating. And Aaron Eckhart can be pretty physically intimidating. So the thought of how am I going to intimidate him back when he's asking me questions is going to be tricky. And I thought, well, there's nothing, I think, more intimidating than if someone threatens you and you just smile at them. So I went with that, with this choice that even though I'm smiling or maybe giggling, there's something misfiring in my brain, and I'm actually trying to maybe tell him what's really going on.
Yeah.
Like maybe what I really am trying to communicate is like, this guy's about to kill a bunch of people. He's, he made me do this thing, but how terrifying if I can't do anything but smile and giggle. I started thinking about the gas, and I was thinking about the Clown Prince and thinking about the history of that and how he could manipulate people, and it was great. And at that time I was going through a really terrible breakup. I was with someone who had gone back into using, and so you add that to the stress of, now I'm going to go. We went to London to shoot the sequence where Harvey Dent kidnaps me and he's flipping the coin in the alleyway. That we shot in the Battersea Power Station. And I was in London for almost a month, like 3 weeks, because I was on weather cover. So that meant if it started raining, they were going to shoot my scene, and it didn't rain. So I just got to keep hanging out in London and waiting to work.
Oh, just waiting for it to
rain? Just waiting to work, yeah.
Wow.
And then they shot my scene towards the end of their time in London. But the anxiety was building and the tension was building. And then we shot that scene. And again, I just didn't know. I was like, am I terrible? Am I any good? What's happening? The anxiety was getting so bad. Anybody who has or wrestled with or struggled with anxiety can relate to this. On the flight back from the UK to the US, I was living in Chicago at the time, I became unquestionably convinced that I was having a cardiac situation.
Oh yeah, I've been there.
Yeah, so I went to the ER as soon as I got off the plane, and they ran a bunch of tests, and they, you say things like, oh, I have a history with shooting up, or I have a history with, I used to smoke cigarettes like crazy, and so it's not unquestionably, it's possible. And anybody who says, I think I'm having a heart attack, they're going to listen, and they're going to run all the tests, and they're going to do all the stuff. And they came back and they said, you're fine, man. You're okay. Go see your general, practitioner, see what's going on. But as far as we can tell, everything looks good. It's okay. Probably 2 weeks later, I'm back in the ER, No, this is no bullshit. I am dying. I am dying. I am dying. I will be dead tonight if you don't do whatever you got to do. Do I need a stint? I don't know. Is this open heart surgery time? I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't want to tell your job, doc, but you don't know what the fuck you're talking about. I'm dying. And this wonderful doctor, I'll never forget, they run all the tests, and he's like, I see you've been in here before. This is the third, I actually went in 3 times to the ER, and he goes, I see you've been in here before. And he goes, what do you know about, general anxiety disorder? What do you know about that? And I was so offended.
Really?
Yeah, I was
You're
like,
I'm not one of those anxiety
I was
people.
like, this is real.
Yeah.
This isn't psychosomatic. I'm not crazy. Huh? Am I? And he's like, what are you talking about? You got to get over that bullshit. That has nothing to do with being crazy, or it's not psychosomatic. Is not a pejorative. We've come to think of the term psychosomatic as some kind of insult, like you're making shit up. Your body and your brain are so intricately linked together that when you're experiencing stress, strain, trauma, incredible fatigue, your brain, it is so obviously it's operating the ship. Parts of your body will start to falter.
Yeah.
It's just a fact. So thus began the journey of therapy, psychiatry, working with professionals, and so grateful for that.
Yeah, put you on a great journey ahead.
Great journey.
A lot of superhero stuff to follow. As a comic book fan, you have lived an amazing life in terms of, oh my God, The Flash, Gotham. You've been in Ant-Man movies as multiple roles. One of the only people with multiple roles in the MCU.
It's
obviously,
crazy.
And then Polka Dot Man, possibly my favorite in the Suicide Squad. Just a tremendous role. I loved also seeing how many pieces of fan art you reposted after that movie came out.
It was, I had to. Every single
They were
time
so
I was
cool.
I'm like, this person deserves to have their work seen. They're so talented. I can't believe people spend so much time. But I do believe it. You know why? Because I'm a fan.
Yeah.
I'm a geek. I grew up, like I
You
said,
get it,
reading
yeah.
comics, and I would do my own fan art, and I'm a terrible drawer.
Yeah,
and
me too.
I used to take I've always believed that DC had the best villains and Marvel had the best superheroes. So I used to like do tracing paper, and I would try and create battles between, you name it, like Solomon Grundy versus Moon Knight.
Who wins?
Yeah. Well, Moon Knight would
Moon Knight probably wins.
would triumph, but never wins, because there's always like some thing that takes place. But I loved that, or Morbius versus the Scarecrow.
That's a good one.
Yeah, I used to love doing
This
that
is
shit.
someone fund a Dave just fantasy matchup show. I want to see this
Let's
TV
do,
series.
let's do
now.
it. All right, let's and I love the idea of the DC Marvel crossover stuff, because they've done it before. Anybody who's collected comics for a long time knows there's been time like that JLA Avengers crossover 10, 12 years ago. It's pretty cool.
I was gonna say, like, not too long ago, like fairly recently, in the 2000s it happened, right?
Yeah. It was rad.
Yeah.
It looked really cool. And
I mean, who knows? In the future, I always say, in 20, 30 years, who knows what the movie landscape looks like. James Gunn is now running DC, and he's like, let's do it. He's like, I want to mash everything up.
Can you imagine how
crazy.
fucking cool it would be to see James Gunn get to take DC Marvel and have that, like, Secret Wars meets, Crisis, like, kind of event? Like, that would be...
Nerds all over the country just had nerdgasms.
Yeah.
as you said
I
that.
just got chills.
That's when we all transcend to nerdvana, when James does that. Like, I could see it. I could totally see it. How lucky are we that he's about to unleash a whole new chapter of DC
I know.
on all of our minds.
What he's already announced, I'm like, are you kidding me? We're
and
doing
what he's
Batman
accomplished.
and Robin.
I love that his like entree into DC was a movie as bonkers and rad
risky.
and funny and risky as the Suicide Squad.
Yeah.
It was just like, it's what this shit needs. You've got to inject it with that. And he knows exactly what he's doing. It's so cool.
Was that Suicide Squad set as fun as it looked from the outside?
Yes, and more so, more fun. We had such a killer time. Margot is a hero to me. Like, she is such a great leader on set, in the sense that, like, she just works so hard, but she's so funny. Idris is fucking hilarious. I never realized what a great sense of humor he has, because I always have admired him and so much as like a serious actor. But then I was like, he was fucking great on The Office, and he's done some funny shit before. Such a cool, down-to-earth guy. Joel, I've always thought, like, oh, that guy's cool, badass. He's probably, like, maybe too cool, or something. Nope. Sweet as hell. Played with my kids. Was a blast. Steve Agee is one of my best friends in the world. He was the on-set King Shark. Mm-hmm. So he was there improvising and creating and being this character, as well as Economos, although I didn't have any scenes with Economos. Daniela has become a lifelong friend of mine. Her Ratcatcher 2 is perfect. She's becoming a big movie star right now. She's in the new Fast and Furious, and she's in tons of new stuff. But like, we would laugh so hard, we would cry sometimes. I mean, Peter as Thinker. Peter, I've been a fan for a long time, a Doctor Who fan. I just was like, we would just sit and talk about Hammer horror and monster movies and all this stuff together. John Cena running around in his tighty whities. That guy is so funny, and he's such a odd ball. He fit perfectly with all the weirdos. And I thought, again, he was another guy I kind of thought, oh, is he this, like, is he too cool? I don't know. I just didn't have a sense of what he was going to be like. And then we're there, and he's ridiculous. He's so funny. He's so fun to be around, so positive, just a good guy, Yeah, that was a really special time. I'll never forget that. The family, James is family to me. He's like a brother to me. And I was there. The kids were running around set. I found my cat, who's a part of my family now, while we were making that movie. Yeah, we were in Panama, Cologne, Panama, shooting the big battle against Starro sequence, and and it was so crazy. This beautiful cat kept coming up to set and wanting love, and she was hungry and tiny and scared, and I fell in love with her, and I got her home. She
That's
lives
awesome.
at
What's
my
her
house
name?
now.
Amazing.
Bubblegum.
Oh, nice cat.
I
man.
wanted to call her Abner Bubblegum Polka Dot Cat. So that's her full name. That's her birth certificate name, Abner Bubblegum Polka Dot Cat. But she became a bit of an internet celebrity. If you Google it, it was crazy because Juliana, our costume designer, is a big pet lover, and they were really helping rescue a lot of the animals down there, as was James. James is a huge animal
I know
lover,
he's a
and
dog
he
guy,
was
yeah.
big into rescuing critters while we were on location, and the costume team had made this polka dot man costume that fit Bubblegum perfectly. And so I took some pictures of her, and it went viral. It went crazy, and all of a sudden my cat became like a internet celebrity. It was pretty
A
rad.
Nepo cat?
Yeah, Nepo cat all the way. She's such a Nepo baby. Man, that was a good experience. I love that movie so much.
That's awesome. I just got one more question for you because I know we're going long. I feel bad. I could get to all of your movies, but Prisoners is another one that I absolutely adore.
Yeah.
And I was late on Prisoners. I just watched it for the first time over the last year.
Yeah, they just put it on Netflix around the holidays, and all these people were coming out of the woodwork being like, "Oh my God, dude, Prisoners!" And I
So,
was like, "You slept on that shit. That
I-
was 2013."
I know I can't
motherfucker."
believe I'm saying this, but I'm one of those people, and I was blown away by it. When you're playing a sick fuck like the person you're playing in that movie, and the director yells "cut," are you trying to stay in like kind of a sick fuck mindset for the next take,
No.
or are you going right to like, let me think about SpongeBob so I can get that out of my brain?
Well, I think about SpongeBob all the time, no matter what. But who doesn't love SpongeBob? Can we go? We'll have a show about SpongeBob
I'm
at some
a big
point.
SpongeBob
SpongeBob's
kid.
very important.
Yeah.
But no, I will disagree with you on a certain point.
Okay.
I don't believe Bob Taylor was a sick fuck. I believe Bob Taylor was a victim.
Damaged.
Damaged. He had been abducted as a child by those people.
Yeah.
He had been tortured as a child by those people. He'd never been given the resources or the support that he needed as a grown-up processing that trauma. So what Bob Taylor was doing, he had no interest in harming anybody. He was trying to help. He was trying, in his own weird, fucked up way, to solve the mystery of the maze so that he could ultimately help rescue these kids who've been kidnapped. So for me, playing that intention just meant being so scared, but he was so scared that at any second somebody was going to grab him again. Yeah. So when I was helping to create the character and thinking about what he looked and moved and operated like, I decided, as opposed to the screenplay described him as a very bushy, big, kind of reclusive, hermetical guy, and I thought, no, because he's got to pay bills, he's got to live a life, he must have to go to work. And I think he tries his best to just blend in like wallpaper. He kind of wants to just be like beige wallpaper that kind of moves around and you'd never notice him anywhere because he's so afraid of, if he is noticed, being caught or captured, while he's still trying to work through the clues that live in his subconscious and trying to understand the snakes and the horror and the
snakes,
mazes and all of this. Like, so, to be quite honest, in between takes, to me, it's really important to reset, to think about what do I need to do to make sure blocking-wise I'm getting the director what he needs. Am I doing, what I need to do to help my scene partner? Am I, performing in a way that's beneficial to helping the camera team get there? I'm a very technical actor. I'm not like a method actor, but it doesn't mean that sometimes your body doesn't get tricked into believing the circumstances are real. So most of the time I try to pride myself on being able to do something that's demanding, emotionally, psychologically, and then when they yell cut, and I've observed this in heroes of mine, like Heath Ledger, like on The Dark Knight, they yell cut, you're back to your first mark, you shake it off, you're ready to reset. You got to get to 7 this time. You're going to go to a 6. You're a computer in a way. You're kind of like, okay, what do I got to do to make this work so that sees what it needs to see? How do I manufacture all of this stuff to give that what the director's going to need it to do? There was one moment in Prisoners, though, when we were shooting the sequence where I take the gun from the cop and I blow my brains out, where I do feel like I kind of came untethered for just a second. It's happened to me a couple of times as an actor where my body gets so caught up in the circumstances of what's happening that my brain starts to really believe it in a way that's probably not healthy, and I kind of came apart for a minute, and then when I came back to reality, it was lovely because Gyllenhaal was there. He's kind of had his hand on my chest, was just helping me get my breath, and director Denny, who's a dear friend of mine, was right there to say, "Are you okay? What do you need? Just give me a few seconds. Let me do some breathing, some mindfulness, and then we can get back into it." But yeah,
reset.
I really think that's important for actors to be able to do, because sometimes you have to do something 47 times or 147 times, and it's counterintuitive to the process of filmmaking to go, I'm crazy. I can't I can't do it. I gotta go. I'm playing. I'm the living vampire. Now I'm going to climb the wall because I'm in character. No, fucker. You need to get back to your mark so we can make sure you're lit right. Does the makeup need to be fixed? Is your costume okay? Yeah. It's a job. It is still a job, and I'm there to service someone else's vision. I'm an actor, not a director.
Yeah.
It's not my job to make everything operate around me. You'd be surprised. Some people seem to have a different opinion.
Oh, no. We see it sometimes. You see stories trickle out sometimes with someone on set, and you're like, oh, maybe they're going a little crazy with the method.
And sometimes you're like, how much better could the performance have been if they were able to take their ego out of the way and go, what do you need? You're running this show. What do you need? This is your show. What is it that I can help? How can I help bring your vision to life, as opposed to how can I make you do what I want to do?
Yeah.
It takes a lot of vulnerability.
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah.
And trust. And
Yeah.
I'm so lucky. I've worked with so many directors whom I can trust implicitly. So if they say, jump on one leg and bark like a dog, I'm going to do it because I trust
the
them.
end product will come out the way that they visioned it.
Damn right.
Yeah. All right. Well, that was very fascinating hearing you break down that whole process, even just the process of what your characters were thinking in those movies that I love so much. So
Thanks,
I really
man.
appreciate you coming in and doing this. This
This
is
is
cool
awesome.
For me. Yeah.
This is awesome. Thanks, everybody. And make sure and go check out my comic book, Count Crowley, Reluctant Midnight Monster Hunter. The new volume's in stores now. If you guys like comics and monsters, check that out. And
go to your local comic book store, pick it up.
Yes, if you are struggling today and you feel alone in the world and you feel like there's nobody that understands you and you just feel like giving up, I promise you there are people who can listen. There's people that want to help. If you're struggling with any feelings of self-harm, I want you to Google SAMHSA, SAMHSAA. There's a wonderful free resource for lots of opportunities for you to find ways, even if you don't have a penny to your name, to get the help that you need. But you are lovable and you deserve to be here, and I hope you can take that to heart.
Beautiful message. Go get the help you deserve. You deserve that help.